So it's finally Friday, and I've been looking forward to this night for weeks. And unfortunately, due to the weather and the heat, test and tunes have been canceled, and I haven't had any opportunity to test the Malibu at a track. So as long as I can get out of here today without Paige running over me with her mail Jeep, I may finally get to see what this Malibu runs with the new E85 carburetor. First, I need to run down to the fuel station and fill some jugs with E85, so I've got a little bit of fuel I can use for ballast, just in case I need to slow the car down a little bit. Anytime I'm trying to run an index, I try to start the car off light on fuel and add fuel to slow it down as needed. So with about 5 gallons in the fuel tank, 10 gallons in jugs, 2 full nitrous bottles, we're just about ready to leave as soon as Vicky finishes loading up the trailer and I say goodbye to my brother. Try to be productive while I'm gone.
Try not to enough. I'm always productive.
So we're off to make the 2-hour trip down to the northwest side of Cincinnati, Ohio, to Edgewater Sports Park. Me, Vicky, June, and Chevy. Edgewater is one of my favorite places to race. It's the most beautiful track, I think, in Ohio, to be honest with you. The pits are mostly grass and beautiful shade trees, and the track surface is really good. And even though tonight is actually a no-prep night, I know the track is usually really good by the time the sun goes down. And thankfully today the heat index is much lower and the weather is much more conducive to drag racing than what it's been the last few days. Once we found a nice pit spot, I went ahead and unloaded the Malibu, and we took a little bit of time to talk to some people who gathered around to see the car and say hi to us. And I jumped on the golf cart to go check out all the other cars that were there tonight to race. And there are definitely some hitters here tonight. The last time I was here a month ago, I won the 1150 index. So I'm pretty eager to try and double up if I can put some good numbers up on these boards. All right, guys, so we're here at Edgewater today. Got the Malibu out here. We're going to run 1150 index. I'm not really sure what the car is going to run. This will be the first pass we've made on this car since we put it on E85. So I have no idea what the tune-up's going to need to be with the nitrous. So the first pass, I'm just going to make a motor pass and just see what runs on motor, and then we'll go from there. So once we got our pit spot set up, got the Malibu unloaded, and I cleaned it up a little bit, I went through tech and went straight to the staging lanes, and the place is already starting to fill up pretty quick. Hopefully, this new carburetor works out as well as I think it's going to. Unfortunately, I haven't had any time to tune the car on E85. This is basically just a bolt-on deal where I've made a few modifications to the carburetor, and hopefully, in this decent air tonight, this thing will run a good number. So the first pass right off the trailer, obviously, was not good. The car had a terrible lean stumble as soon as I hit the gas, and I've got to get to the bottom of what's going on. When I went up the stage, I didn't have any power brakes, and it rolled deep into the beams and wouldn't bump. And then when I hit the gas, it was so lean that it just bogged. Now I've been tuning this car up home in hot, humid, muggy air, and I had it dialed in really good. But today the air is much better, the density altitude is much lower, and this thing has a terrible lean stumble right off idle. So I checked the car over really carefully, snug down all the carburetor bolts, check all the vacuum lines, and I can really find nothing wrong, at least with the car. My screwdriver someone snapped the tip off of, and then I realized my timing light doesn't work, and I don't even have a distributor wrench with me. So at this point, the race night I've been looking forward to isn't looking good. So, never had that problem with this car before as far as this carburetor being on there, but that's the first time I've actually tried to launch it on a track after doing a burnout in the whole 9 yards. But I don't know, I had to turn the idle speed down and then readjust the idle mixture screws. I checked all the vacuum lines, there's nothing there. I don't find anything wrong with it, so readjusted the idle mixture screws and readjusted the idle speed, and the vacuum brakes seem to be working okay now. So I'm gonna go up and try one more time to make a motor hit, and because I really want to know what it runs on motor. I really don't have any idea what to do with the nitrous kit until I know what it runs on motor. So we're gonna go up and try it again. Unfortunately, when I went up to make my second hit, the car did the exact same thing. But this time the car next to me was so loud, I really couldn't hear what the Malibu was doing. And since I'm running out of time to dial this car in before eliminations, I decided to back the car up and try to make a single by myself so I can get a better feel and hear more clearer what the car is actually doing. Judging by what I'm hearing and feeling so far, I feel that there's a little bit of a delay in pulling fuel out of the booster on the primaries as I open the throttle. So I raise the launch RPM from 1700 to 2000 and try it again. Raising the launch RPM from 1700 to 2000 barely made any difference at all. So this thing either definitely has a vacuum leak, or I'm going to have to make a major swing with my carburetor jetting to fix this stumble, and I've got to do it quick. At this point it's about 6:15 and time trials end for index classes at 7, so I've got to get the carburetor part, rejet it, and get this thing back together without damaging any gaskets. Plus I still need to put a program in the nitrous controller.
So I end up jetting the front of the carburetor up 4 jet sizes. It's a Hail Mary just to get this thing to hopefully leave the starting line without going lean. I'm out of time trials. I'm just gonna go ahead and put a tune up in the nitrous controller, and hopefully it'll go somewhere close to 1150.
Now unfortunately, I don't have an air-fuel ratio gauge in the Malibu, so I have to rely on past experience with carburetor jetting and E85 carburetors I've built, along with my gut instincts on what to do with not only the carburetor, but the program and the controller for the nitrous. At this point, this is my last shot, and if this doesn't come anywhere near 1150, my night is going to be a really short night at Cincy Street Nights.
I seen an 8 mile time. I knew he was going to be knocking on the door of it.
That was a Hail Mary.
I realized that.
I went up 4 jet sizes in the front just so it would 60 foot and leave the starting line. And it went 1155 and 116, just taking a shot in the dark. So it's hot. I mean, it's god awful hot right now. That 1155 will probably be about 11:45, and I'll be right back where I was the last time I was here, so I'm all right.
So after a 2-hour mad dash to get this car to run, I finally have a little bit of time to stop and visit with people. And one of the most memorable was this little boy who's about to be adopted that just loves drag racing.
15, 16 years old, you're going to feel like you know it all. And your buddies are going to be into doing all kind of everything else, but probably not racing. Okay? There's going to be a lot of things that try and drag you away from your dad and drag you away from racing. You got to really want to do this. If you really want to do this, you're going to have to sacrifice some friendships. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to do good in school. Most importantly, you're going to have to stick by that man's side because he's got your back no matter what. You understand me? And he's the only one. The one thing I used to tell my kids when they were playing Little League football, figure out who among you, who around you is probably not a good influence. I called it identify the idiot, avoid the idiot. If the idiot's going right, you go left. Okay? It's important. You'll figure it out. When you get older, you'll start to remember this conversation. And if you got a question, you go to your daddy. All right, guys, so we're up here for first round, and it appears that I've got the bye run somehow. I don't know how that happened, but it appears that I've got a bye, so we can sure use that right now. I went up a little while ago and looked at the lanes. I think the right lane's a little bit faster, so if I get a bye, I'm probably going to go up there in the right hand lane and just see how fast that lane is. I've made two hits on the left lane, but I haven't been in the right yet. So if I get the bye, I'll go ahead and take it in the right.
So as luck would have it, I actually did get a bye run first round. and I definitely needed it because I only ran 11:55 on my last pass. The sun's going down, it's getting cooler, and the track's going to get faster. Now technically I was right, the right lane hooked a little harder, but it's one of those situations where the fast lane doesn't always put the best number up. All right guys, so it was a good thing I had to buy first round. The car's making a little bit more power in the first 60 feet than what it used to, and the front shocks were still set from the last time I was here, and the front end came up a little bit too fast. And when the front suspension maxed out in travel, you can see in the video it unloads the rear tire and it spins for, I don't know, a couple revolutions. And it was enough to slow the car down about 5 to 7/100ths in the 60 foot. So I went ahead and put a couple clicks in the front shocks, tightened it up a little bit. I'm gonna leave the tune-up alone. I think we're gonna be okay. We should be setting about 11:48, 11:49. Somewhere in that range, maybe even a little bit faster than that. We'll just have to see how it goes. When they finally called us up for round 2, the sun was going down, the track's getting fast, and I found myself paired up with this little Coyote Mustang. Now call it intuition, whatever you like, but I had a feeling that this car might try and take a shot at that instant green tree to get a jump on me. And I told myself, if this guy jumps the light, or if he tries to guess it, I need to leave right with him to have any shot at being able to win this round. And it turns out that's exactly what this guy did. Now trying to guess the light on an instant green is difficult. You can either come up a big winner or you can come up a big loser. If you guess it right, it's a huge advantage. But if you guess it wrong and turn it red, it's an instant loss for you and basically a bye run for your opponent. The combination of the shock adjustment and the track cooling off led to the Malibu going 11:46. So I put a little bit of fuel in the tank to slow the car back down and head back up for round 3. All right guys, so I got this little red Malibu wagon sitting over here. It's a pretty decent bracket car. I've seen that car around for a long time. I don't know the young man that's driving it. I'm not even sure who has the car now, but it's a really good car. He looks like he's pretty sharp. I've seen him drive a little bit tonight. He definitely knows what's going on. I've got an idea that he's probably just wheel racing. We'll see how it goes. Now, first round, I watched this guy take out Kenny Powers in this red wagon, and I heard him on and off the gas all the way down the track. So I know this red Malibu wagon goes in the 10s. It's much faster than 1150. But instead of just wheel racing me all the way down, he picks an entirely different strategy that I never considered. Instead of just trying to stay ahead of me all the way down the track, this guy decides to run the wagon wide open all the way down to the 1,000 foot and then pick a drop spot to try and run 1150. The problem was the old Malibu ran 1150 with a 0, dead on the 1150 index. Now, I'm sitting with almost an empty bottle, so I figure by the time I put a fresh bottle in this thing and go up for the final, the added weight of the full bottle should put me right on the 1150 index with a mid number. So guys, it's right now it's Sunday, it's Father's Day, and I'm finishing up this video, and I want to explain something before we go into this final round. I find myself in this position to where the Malibu is sitting dead on the index. The young man that I'm about to run in the final had to buy into the final, and I think he ran like 11:58. I'm not sure what the tune-up was in his car. I'm not sure if that car could even actually run 11:50 this night, but I know I can, and I'm sitting right on the index like I'm ready to win this thing for the second time in 2 months. I'm going to win 1150 index. There's no doubt in my mind. I've got this. I'm very confident. And then I roll up in the staging lanes, and believe it or not, I find myself in a position I've never been in before. I find myself wanting to lose the final. Lose the final. I don't want to beat this guy. Here's why. When I rolled up into the staging lanes, I recognized a little box top Fairmont. However, I had no idea of the journey that this car and this driver had been through to be here tonight with me in the final at Cincy Street Nights.
So, April 12th, I had a tree fall on me and cracked my skull open, and it about killed me. And I had surgery the next day, emergency surgery. And, you know, I didn't know how I was going to be, you know, didn't know if I was going to be a functioning person because there was.
How long ago did this happen?
That was April 13th when I had surgery.
This past April?
A few months ago. You can ask anybody else. The very first words out of my mouth when I woke up was, when can I go racing? I got Cincy Street Nights on Friday.
I took a few minutes in the staging lanes to talk to Jake and look at his car and try to grasp what it was that was about to transpire here. It was Father's Day weekend, and this is Jake's father standing here in the white shirt. His entire family was there to witness Jake in the final of Cincy Street Nights just 2 months after he was almost killed in a freak accident. But tonight, here in front of his family, my job is to see that he does not win 1150 index. And I just don't know how I'm going to deal with that. I don't want to do it. But I also know that you can't just hand out participation trophies. Don't get me wrong, I considered going red. I considered going down there and giving the stripe back, but that's not fair to him either. I wanted to make sure Jake had the opportunity to beat me legitimately, to earn it for himself and his family. As soon as I hit the gas, the rear end broke in the Malibu, and Jake did exactly what he should have done. Not seeing me anywhere near him at the finish line, he let off the gas and coasted to his well-deserved win.
It was that boy's day. It was his day.
Luckily, the old Malibu didn't leak a drop on the track, and it was able to back itself off, but it didn't make it back to the trailer. And that's okay. I'll put the old Malibu back together, and we'll come back and race again another day.